Hi there everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to my channel. Amongst other things, I'm a reenactor and a jouster. And one of the things that really interests me is how things started, or things that we might do today that we might not quite understand why we do it and how that came about. And I've got 3 examples to share with you today. If you can think of any more, then why not drop them in the comments, and I could always do a commenter version of this in the future as well. Anyway, before we get started, I'd just like to point out that these are our best guesses. There may be other reasons for these as well, and you'll probably be able to find a historian that disputes it and a historian that agrees with it. In fact, the best way to find 3 different historical opinions is to put 2 historians in a room together. These are some ideas about how these habits or things that we do today might have originally come about. So the first one I've got for you is quite specific to horse riding. Now, I know some of you who watch this at home, you ride horses, and you may know that you mount a horse usually from the left-hand side in Western riding styles. We believe that this is most likely because a soldier, when mounting a horse, would be wearing his sword on the left-hand side. So his left leg is impeded by the scabbard of the sword, and his right leg is more free to be lifted and raised over the back of the horse when mounting. So this is something that most horse riders nowadays still do, but they might not actually be aware that it originates in a historical military context. You might have had a meal at a relative's house, maybe one of the older generation, and they may have told you not to put your elbows on the table because it's rude. This is another one of those things that maybe everyone knows about this rule, but they might not know particularly where it came from. Well, in Europe, several hundred years ago, tables weren't built the way that dining tables are built nowadays. They were generally pretty much always trestle tables. Trestle tables are made with separate legs to the tops. So you would have these stands that would go at either end, and then a board would be laid across the top of those stands. This makes it a lot more portable. It means that you can move it in and out, which is much more useful for the type of multi-purpose living spaces that people had in the medieval period. But it does mean that the tabletop is less secure. If you were to lean your elbows on the table, on a trestle table, you would stand a very good chance of upending the whole thing and the entire dinner going onto the floor. And for number 3, again, this is one of those ones that we've all seen it, and it may come from a variety of different places. But one popular theory about saluting is that this comes from when soldiers, when they were wearing full plate armor, had to raise their visors. So obviously, if you're wearing a full face helmet, it's very difficult to tell the difference between various individuals. In the high medieval period, people used to wear their coats of arms, but by the late medieval period, full plate armor was more affordable. Anyone, whether they're knightly or not, would be able to afford a full harness. We see harnesses as well being bought up by lords and handed out to their troops. So you might not even own a full plate harness, but you still might be able to wear one on the battlefield. This means that many of the people on a late medieval battlefield would not have their own coat of arms. And so you wouldn't be able to tell who they were inside. When a lord or a knight was inspecting his troops, he wouldn't be able to look at their shield or their coats of arms to tell who they were, and so it was expected that they would need to raise their visor. Most visors were raised using the right hand. This is partially because of riding. If you're riding a horse, which most people did on the way to battle, if they had full plate harness, even if they were intending to dismount to fight, they still generally rode. You could do this while keeping the left hand on the reins. You could raise your visor. Many visors of certain types of helmets, such as the Armet, even have a little lever that helps you to find the visor for raising when you're wearing your gauntlets. So that is one possibility. I think it's very likely for where saluting originally came from. The medieval soldiers wearing full face helmets, having to raise their visors when their lords and their knights were inspecting the troops. So guys, I'm interested to know whether you've heard any of these ones before. I'm also interested to know if you've got any others that we can share. Things that maybe we all do nowadays, or we're all aware of nowadays, but maybe has its root in something quite specific in history. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end. That is a great way to support me and support this channel. If you'd like to go a little bit further, please do like, share and subscribe. And if you want to, there is a link to my Patreon down below. A big thanks to all of my patrons, and especially to my Knight patrons, whose names have been flashing across the screen right now. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.